Thanks very much, Rory. Welcome along to ESL R1, sponsored by Aramco here at Riyadh. It's great to be along once again. Finalist mode is back again, but this time more than double the amount of money on the line. $100,000 even on the line here for the winner. 400k overall for all of those 12 drivers out there just across to our left on the stage. My name is Ian Leary, alongside our Junior Kanki Party. We're very excited. Finalist mode is back again. A couple of tweaks, I think it's fair to say, we'll get into, but we're very, very excited. These are the drivers who are on the roster today. 4 with teammates, 4 on their own, and 12 of the very best.
Of course, 11 of these drivers secured their spot through the racing. Kevin Ellis Jr. had to go out in that one-lap shootout and delivered plenty of excitement for us, that's for sure. And now we are going to get to see what those 12 drivers are going to be able to do with $100,000 as their focus. We're going to start off by racing at Spa, the Nürburgring, Hockenheim and Monza. Those are the first 4 races as drivers start to build up to the 80 points they need to reach finalist mode.
80 points meaning that it's a minimum of 4 here in Riyadh to get to finalist mode, whereas it was only 3 in Munich, although Marcel Cincic still only managed it in 4. We only had to get to 60 points above the 100 back then. We're in qualifying then, and Max Benecke is going to be first out there on the circuit. He does have a teammate in the form of Yuri Kazdorp for Maus in the Audi. The plunge up a hill through Eau Rouge and along the Kemmel Straight. We've seen a bit of Spa recently. This is where we ended last night. Kevin Ellis Jr. taking that final spot inside the top 12. Wonder what confidence he's going to take from that.
I'm sure some confidence, but ultimately he had to wait a rather long time before he knew whether he was going to be in the shootout or watching from the sidelines. And ultimately, it was a 2-car shootout, very close to being a 3-car shootout. Thibaut Casabon just missing out on that opportunity. Focusing on Max Benecke, though, in that first sector, a 38.709. Well, that's pretty much right on pace. In fact, maybe a 10th up on what we'd expect in that opening sector of the lap.
And he was one of 9 drivers to take 2 podiums in the 2 races here yesterday, finishing second and third along the way. So we're expecting good things, but we're going to be saying that a lot about all of these 12 drivers, I would imagine. Down the hill through Pouhon now and towards the Pif Paf. It's going all right for Max Benecke at the moment. Let's see what this middle sector is like. We're looking for under a minute here.
Yeah, we saw many drivers in our final race here at Spa yesterday getting slowdown penalty. I think almost 4 of the 12 drivers in that particular session, and so it's something that we definitely do have to watch for. Benecke, though, very wide on the run out of Campus/Stavolo, depending on what you call it. Yes, that second sector is good, but it's a 1.8 kilometer run all the way up into that bus stop chicane, and Benecke lost some crucial momentum.
Certainly did. It's a very, very long period of time to lose momentum for as well, which is not ideal, but let's see what the lap time's going to be. Through Blanchimont now, absolutely flat out, especially in qualifying trim with fresh tyres on board. Now in towards the bus stop chicane, not quite as much over the curve on the right hand side as maybe you would expect at some points. Now fires his way towards the start finish line. It's going to be a 14.3, and I can't tell whether he's disappointed or not. Looks like he was.
He's disappointed because, like I said, that one mistake maybe robbed him of the chance to be able to get into the 14.2s, if not the 14.1s, given what a tidy first couple of sectors it was. Look at the sectors, though, from Josh Rogers. Faster in that first sector, about on par in that second sector. The king of qualifying. 2 pole positions yesterday. What does Rogers have in store for us now? 2
race wins as well. He's shown that when he starts up the front, he can deliver. Over the line now for the Australian. It's a 14.3 as well. Only 15 thousandths of a second between them.
And it shows that maybe Benecke, with that mistake, that's why he was so frustrated. Here's Kevin Ellis Jr., though. We mentioned the shootout. He came here to Spa. He locked himself into fighting for $400,000. First sector, a 10th off of the 2 drivers we've seen so far. Same story in the second sector. What's it been in that final sector?
He only just made it, as he's saying, so what can we expect from Kevin Ellis Jr. here today? He makes his way over the line with Apex Racing Team on his back at the moment. He's only 43 thousandths away, but he sets the slowest time so far.
I think he made up a bit of that time in that final sector, so that's going to be good to see. But this is what we expect in qualifying, the margins to be this close. 3-car split by half a 10th of a second, around 7 kilometers, almost 22 turns of racing. Tommy Osgaard, we saw the heroic Porsches looking quite strong over the course of yesterday, but the only of those machines in the field today. What can the 85 do?
It really mounts the curve through the left-hander there. Let's see if it just stopped his momentum slightly. It's a 14.6 from Oscar. That's a quarter of a second away, and I think he knew it when we joined him just out of Stavilo. He seemed to have a bit of that kind of look on his face.
Marcel Cinczyk, first sector and second sector, tracking very close to Kevin Ellis Jr. And our ESL R1 Spring Champion will be looking to start off today with a bang.
Of course, he was so close to clinching that title at this circuit. The last time we raced this one back in Munich, he was overtaken on the very last lap by James Baldwin to take it to another race. Over the line for Marcel Cinczyk, it's a 14.4, which is just under a tenth away, but still only fourth place.
What did I say? Tracking right about on Kevin Ellis Jr., who did make up some of that time in the final sector. 200 splits, the Apex Racing Team number 98 and the R8G number 15. Now Jeffrey Rietveld, look at that second sector, my goodness, really has found some speed in the BMW that struggles in a straight line. Sector 1 slightly compromised, 2 kilometers from La Source to the braking zone of Lacombe. Through that final sector in the BMW for Team Redline, and Jeffrey Rietveld, looking to try and find his way to the front, is going to be able to get into the threes and into pole position.
Yeah, 14.3 from Jeffrey Rietveld. What a time that was from him. Half a tenth away from in front of Josh Rogers, excuse me, as we look at Kevin Siggy, the other driver alongside Josh Rogers to have taken 2 wins so far. Yuri Toman will be after him. Still got half of the drivers remaining in this session to come over the line now. What's it going to be for Kevin Siggy, who did make the major in Munich as well for Redline? It's a 14.4. He is only 5th.
So you can see that while the BMW is strong, it does take the driver to make the most out of it. 1/10 between the two Redline teammates. Rietveld, the best of them so far. Here's Toman, middle sector as well as the first sector. Just about on pace, but maybe tracking 1 or 2 tenths off right now. And of course, trying to join Marcel Cinczyk up inside of the top 6. We'll try and displace Tommy Osgaard as well.
Out of the final corner for the Czech driver, it's Yuri Toman who makes his way to the line. Where is he going to be in relation to his teammate as well? Just behind him, in fact, with a 14.4. That's all fine from him. 6th and 7th for the 2 RG drivers, maybe a bit lower than we expected.
Broken clock is right twice a day. I've got my qualifying eye in slightly here where the drivers are going to be. Let's see if I can get it right with Dane Warren. 38.7 in the first sector, 59.7 in the second. He's probably tracking right about in between the RAG teammates. We saw Rogers quite quick in the final sector. Can his fellow Australian deliver in the 57?
Yeah, where do you think he's going to be? We'll find out now. Dane Warren over the line, and it's it's the fastest time. A 14.2, the first one we've seen. Dane Warren's on form this week, isn't he?
That final sector, my word, where did that time come from?
Wow, that is a great time from Dane Warren. Faster than his teammate, faster than Josh Rogers and Jeffrey Rietveld. Absolutely fantastic from Dane Warren, who is on course for pole right now, but what can Jakub Brzezinski do? It's going to be tricky for him to get anywhere near the time because of his second sector. 1 minute 0.0. You need to be below that, as we know. 14.7, that puts him last right now.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to see anyone really be in that benchmark because of how good these drivers are in these one-lap qualifying situations. James Baldwin up next, relatively consistent in those first 2 sectors, and will try and become the highest running on the Mercedes. Brzezinski showing that the car that uses the fronts may be struggling a little bit more in the first part of qualifying. Baldwin, quick hands, gets the car through the bus stop and powers to the line.
This was the last of his 3 in a row at Munich, where he was able to deny Cinczyk the title. It's only 8th place for James Baldwin so far. As we look at the final driver, it's Yuri Kastup making his way to the line now for Maus. Where can he get to? A teammate in 4th for the moment.
Now, I was sitting with Yuri in the pool earlier today, just relaxing as he was getting ready to go, and he seems really calm. He was very excited that in this land environment he was able to make his way into the top 12, knowing that ultimately maybe the spring he didn't get to show all of his speed.
Out of the final corner now for Yuri Kastup, who had a fantastic day 1 in a tough group. Now he's over the line to 14.5, and it's 10th place, a shake of the head, but nobody can be disappointed with the times, maybe the position, but they're all within half a second.
And what, the top 3 split by just over a tenth of a second. Yes, it is a Porsche Coanda driver on top, but it's maybe not the Australian that we expected.
Dane Warren taking the first pole position of the afternoon. It's day 2 here in Riyadh, and as you say, it's Porsche Coanda Esports, but not the driver you were expecting. Let's have a look at the starting grid ahead of the 7-lap race coming up here in round 1. Jakub Brzezinski and Tommy Osgaard will be on the back row with Yuri Kastup and Yuri Toman to confuse us on row 5. James Baldwin and Marcel Cinczyk back together again, but all the way back on row 4. Kevin Siggy and Kevin Ellis Jr. have impressed there with the 3rd row. Max Beneke is in 4th, ahead of Josh Rogers, Jeffrey Rietveld and Dave Warren, who sets the AOJ fastest qualifying lap here here for this session. What a time it was as well. Dave Warren taking the win yesterday in at the Hockenheim. Bit of a disappointment at Monza where he got things wrong in qualifying, but no such problems today, racing on a new circuit for this week, and he's taken pole.
And one thing that he told me after that first race that we saw him in pole position and then the victory is he was very focused on trying to get one of our Gidia MVP awards at the end of the 4 days for a driver that's able to punch in the fastest lap at each of the tracks. That pays out $10,000, but he maybe went over the line a little bit in qualifying and pushed a little bit too hard.
And it's $10,000 per track, by the way, as well, so 40k overall. Josh Rogers, after day one, held 2 of those, by the way. There it is, Dave Warren, pole position for the moment. What a time it was, 14.2 from the Australian. And that has put him ahead of the rest with the best possible chance to win this race.
Is that also the fastest lap that we've seen so far here at Spa? Because I feel like we've seen a couple of 2:14.3s, but never this many 2:14.3s.
Yeah, I think the overall quality of the sessions, obviously that kind of stuff's harder to work out really, the overall quality. But I think if we were head-to-head bets, that's one of the best sessions we've seen. And also, if you remember yesterday, we've seen a lot of slowdowns in qualifying, an abnormal amount, I would argue. You know, I remember one of the Nürburgring races had 4 or 5 slowdowns in one session, but none of that here.
I think that goes to show just how hard we were pushing yesterday. Maybe the drivers relaxing a little bit more today and bringing back to 99% of the pace, knowing that it's very, very difficult in finalist mode to make your way to the victory.
And we can just see Dave Warren here on your screen making a bit of a practice start. How important is that going to be? We saw a couple of, I don't know, shaky starts, let's say.
We saw a couple. Joni Tormala jumped the start yesterday in the BMW for G2 Esports, but outside of that, don't think anyone went earlier than the lights. But like you say, standing starts not necessarily what all of these drivers are familiar with in GT3 cars. Every practice that you can get will make a difference.
There is the Maus team manager taking a watchful eye over his 2 drivers, Yuri Kazdorp and Max Benecke. How do you think Maus will be feeling after that one? How do you think he'll be feeling?
I think René's probably feeling pretty good. The Audis clearly have a decent amount of turn of speed. We talk so often about balance of performance. We should point out that Porsche, BMW, as well as those other manufacturers all represented here. It's now coming down to the drivers to make the most of the equipment that they've got.
Well, the lights are about to come on then for the first race of the afternoon. It's the finals in the Driver Championship here in ESL R1, sponsored by Aramco at Gamers8 here in Riyadh. We've whittled down 48 drivers to 12, and now they're set to do battle over an undisclosed period of time here this evening. We could theoretically go on for hours, but finalist mode is once again going to deliver. This is going to set us off for the evening. The lights will come on at Spa, and Dave Warren will hope to convert pole position into an early race lead. We're underway here in Belgium, and it's a good start from the Australian with his teammate directly behind him. What's going to happen here towards turn 1? As we saw drama yesterday, no such drama so far on the run down towards Eau Rouge.
And it's going to be now all about getting into that draft, figuring out who you can work with as you single file yourself surely down through Eau Rouge. There's the Maus Audi of Benecke trying to slot in behind Rogers. Kevin Ellis Jr. trying to hunt him down as well, but now cresting over the top of Radion. Who's got the best slingshot into Lecom?
It's Jeffrey Rieveld in second place, you would argue. Dave Warren very much on the defensive now. He pulls to the inside, going towards Lecom. It's outside for the Le Mans Virtual Series champion. He won't be able to do it there, will he? Or will he? Yes, well, maybe. Let's see, side by side through Lecom. Dave Warren has the inside at Malmedy, and Rogers is going to gain on both of them. Now is he going to make this 3 wide?
Remember, teammates maybe not for the day. Warren not going to be compromised by Rogers, though tucks back into line. Still Rietveld trying to challenge. Outside, will switch back to the inside if he can hold it, but finally Warren holds the lead.
Well, I really thought Rietveld was going to just back off there and stay in line through Lecom, but he gave it a bit of a go. He knows that this is early on in the race. He doesn't need to go side by side the entire way.
Absolutely. I think now we are going to see them settle in. Remember, it is 3 race victories and maybe a 6th spot that can get you into finalist mode. 5 third-place finishes. It's a long road to get there. Drivers have got to manage their endurance as well.
Yeah, you would need 4 top 5s at the very least to get there, maybe more. As we saw with Marcel Chinching in Munich, it took him 4 races where it was a minimum of 3. So taking that forward, I would argue it might take us 5 to see someone get there. But you never know. This field is so close. We could well see Warren, Rietveld and Rogers down at the back next race.
Especially given that the order of racing that we have. Spa up first, Nürburgring, Hockenheim and Monza before we'll start to cycle through those 4 tracks again. But as we cycle up towards Blanchimont, still Warren leading from Rietveld, Rogers, Benecke and Ellis Jr. Just look at those names on the left. boy, is this going to be a fun day.
12 of the absolute best in sim racing, searching for $100,000 here this afternoon. It's close between the top four especially. Dame Warren leaves at the end of the first lap of the evening. Jeffrey Reedveld behind with Josh Rogers and Max Benecke inside the top four as well. Kevin Ayres Jr. has converted to a top five at the end of the opening lap. We're on board with Max Benecke as he tries to size up a move in towards Lecom.
We're looking from that spider cam at the drivers as well, and this is something that I was chatting with them after the first day. Both for those that are familiar with LAN environments and those that have not had the opportunity to see it. It is somewhat distracting to have all these people, these cameras focusing on you, and in the hot lap shootout that we had, Kevin Ayres Jr. said he had someone directly in his eye line. But the reality is, you've got to deal with it in this LAN situation.
Because I would imagine Marco Payet did as well, quite possibly. Let's go on board with Josh Rogers then as almost a replay of what happened last lap. This time Reedveld's on the inside though, in towards Lecom. Dame Warren tries to squeeze him. The two of them run absolutely neck and neck, and Josh Rogers gets alongside his teammate looking for the outside into Mao, but he's not going to go for that. He will just push the Porsche Commander Esports and car in front of him, and now will go down the inside, possibly sending Warren backwards.
Reedveld does take the lead though, crucially in the BMW, struggles in a straight line and very much took the draft in its advantage to be able to cycle on through. Rogers now dispatches of Warren down to third position for the number 57, and now we'll be hoping that Benecke in towards Pouon is not going to be able to fight his way forward as well.
A little bit wide through Pouon as well from Jeffrey Reedveld there. That was not ideal, but Josh Rogers very much on the charge. Pretty brave to overtake his teammate there, I would argue, as well, because look at how many drivers are behind. You could send him all the way to the back.
Is he really your teammate today, though?
Well, that's a discussion for later on, I think. The difference with this one in Munich, though, is the fact that we had points going on into this one. What we haven't made, I don't think, quite clear enough yet, is that we've reset to 0. I know yesterday was exciting and we enjoyed it and all, but it doesn't really matter because they're here and they're all starting from 0 today.
Yeah, ultimately, we were really talking yesterday about trying to stay out of trouble with the stewards, who are very, very busy. We chatted with our race director a couple of times yesterday, because penalty points do carry forward to today. Yes, the points get reset, so Kevin Siggy, Josh Rogers, 2 victories apiece, don't carry the 70 points forward. We also should point out, you win 35 points for a win yesterday. That's 25 points today.
Yeah, the win not quite as important. It was basically winning you in yesterday, which is a format that I enjoyed, if I'm honest, because if you got a bad race 1, then there was just no hope in race 2. That 35 points changed that, but we don't really need those for the days 2, 3 and 4, where the point system will remain the same throughout. On board with Kevin Siggy, he's running 6th, James Baldwin behind, Kevin Ayres Jr. just up in front on the run towards Eau Rouge.
This is where, as well, for Siggy, with such a strong day yesterday. Yes, he had to fight his way to the lead in the second race, but of course, race number 1 a little bit easier for him. What does his mentality breed today? Where is he going to position himself in these sort of races? We say that you need 4 top 5 finishes. Not necessarily sure that's going to be enough.
Josh Rogers is alongside Jeffrey Reedveld for the lead. He's just got to the outside. He's got through. Wow, that is a demonstration. You said it. The BMW not got strong in a straight line. That was visual proof.
But we have seen that Reedveld has been able to use that draft to get on forward. Was that because of Warren making mistakes behind, by the way? A side-by-side Reedveld's teammate, Siggy, tries to battle with Baldwin.
James Baldwin there didn't want to lose places to the REG Audis, and so snuck right in behind Siggy, just up in front, who, as you say, took 2 race wins yesterday. Baldwin had one of his own too. And he's currently running in 7th place. Couldn't make the move on that occasion, but Josh Rogers certainly could. That kind of sets the tone for the remainder of the race. And this was a lap ago, how Dame Warren lost the lead.
And you're going to see here, I think there was actually a bit of contact initially, and that pushes Warren out wide. Rogers swoops underneath his teammate initially, goes to the outside, then with a bit of bumper contact there once again between the two. Rogers will finally able to get to the inside. You can see Benecke trying to follow, but Warren did a good job to hold aggressive and prevent the Maus Audi from getting on through.
I think Benecke just decided that, yeah, maybe that wasn't the move that I should go for right now. See a bit of the wheel work there from Dame Warren. A few faces being pulled, I should say. Did pretty well to hang on to the car, actually, because he was off the road at one point and served off by Jeffrey Reedveld. I don't think there was anything in that, though. Race control probably won't really be looking at that.
Dane Warren's attitude this morning was quite intriguing to me as well. Feels no pressure coming into today, but pressure from Beneka up the inside. Warren tries to close the door, but as they cycle through the final corner, Beneka's going to have to try and make sure he doesn't get escorted off the road, and now has the momentum and the inside line as they climb into La Source.
Well, what's Kevin Ellis Jr. going to do here as well, because he's very much involved and looking around for a move on maybe both of them. That's wide from Josh Rogers up in front as Max Beneka goes through. Now Kevin Ellis Jr. is on the inside of Dane Warren. He can't make it, but Rogers was wide through La Source there. He's going to be under pressure into Lecom.
Is Rietveld going to be able to get the run out of that first corner down the hill and then slingshot himself up into Lecom, the highest point of the track? Looking rearwards from Beneka though. Warren still applying plenty of pressure, as is Kevin Ellis Jr. And here we go. We're going to climb, we're going to climb, we're going to climb, and will we go 3 wide?
Not quite. Kevin Ellis Jr. has no slipstream. Oh, that was a break from Dane Warren, who just got across the front of the Audi. He can't get round the outside here though. Max Beneka holds on for the moment. Kevin Ellis Jr. can't do a lot, but he's round the outside of the second part. Up the inside for Malmedy. He's going for this at the moment, but Warren holds on.
Yeah, you can see as well that the momentum you can carry around the outside there allows you to defend a little bit more aggressively at times, but ultimately you can't afford to drop yourself too far back. Still running on board with Kevin Ellis Jr. after working his way through in the top 12 shootout, showing his speed here at Spa.
And the other Kevin Siggy, has dropped a couple of places, I'm afraid. James Baldwin and Marcel Chinchik, I think, has gone through. This was the move from Josh Rogers to get to the lead, and this was straight line speed personified, wasn't it, really? Round the outside, late braking from Josh Rogers. Jeffrey Rietveld holds in behind, but I think you could be right. Rietveld could be playing a smart game here.
There are a couple of favourites, I think, in today's running. Obviously, Rogers, the 2 race victories yesterday. Siggy as well with his 2 race victories, surely one to watch. Beneka, Baldwin, I think these are some of the drivers that we would expect to be up towards the front consistently, which is what you're going to need to do to be able to work your way forward in those points. Ultimately, for Josh Rogers, maybe not getting off the bat in qualifying immediately as he would have wanted, but the race pace seemingly right there for the 92.
Certainly is, but when are we saying anything different from Josh Rogers, 3-time RSC World Champion in his days as well? And just a little bit wide from Kevin Ellis Jr. there, couldn't hold the momentum that he needed to go for the bus stop chicane. Tommy Usgaard is going to have a go at Yuri Kastorp here. This is the battle for the final point. You don't get anything for 12th place, by the way, but you do for 11th, and Yuri Kastorp wants to hold on to that.
Ooh, bit of a slide there from that number 4 machine as the rear end steps out on powered down. Coming on to the start of lap number 5 means we've got 3 more opportunities realistically out of La Source to get a slingshot up towards Lecom to grab the very first victory of the finals day. Riedveld's almost half a second behind Josh Rogers though, which is surely going to be too much with the 1 to 2 km/h gulf in top speed for the BMW to close.
Well, it's a long straight though, so let's see if there will be a change here. It's looking more likely from Kevin Ellis Jr. quite possibly, as he just homes in on Dane Warren, who just feathers to the inside or the middle at least, and will be looking in his mirror. Certainly won't be going for it. It's Marcel Chinchik and James Baldwin are back at it again. This seems all of a sudden very familiar, and it's Yuri Toman and Kevin Siggy as well, just a little bit further back. This is the battle for 8th place. Absolutely side by side between them. It's outside of Malmedy, and this will continue on.
Look at the view though from Siggy. Look how close they run as well. That momentum that we talked around the outside of Malmedy allows the RAG Audi initially to get a nose in front, but Siggy's not going to be the one to lie down and let the RAG car slide on through. It's now though with the gravel on the outside, Siggy's got to be so careful, and there's the momentum loss that he will be hoping that won't cost him a position.
And if Jakub Brzezinski was any closer, then he could have got involved there as well. We're still side by side, edging on half a lap now. Inside for Yuri Toman, and he'll get through. Then it's Brzezinski, who's finding his way through on Kevin Siggy as well. Double race winner here yesterday, but it's not going quite so well in race 1. Here on day 2, little bit of contact, Brzezinski can't make it.
He tried, to give him credit. We've only got 2 of those Mercedes in the field. Baldwin the best of them in 6th. The Williams Esports entry back in the 10th position, but ultimately it's very much still 2 trains that we've got 1st through 7th, 8th through 12th positions. We know that this is going to be a close battle. The draft's playing its part, but we're at the stage of the race as well, where time management will play a bit of a factor. BMW versus Porsche. Going to be interesting to see who's hold on the best. Has Beneka been minding his time in 3rd?
Has Baldwin been falling away a little bit in terms of the Mercedes, which we did see struggle on its tyres once or twice here yesterday? He's got Marcel Chinchik right behind him as we ride on board with the other Mercedes of the pole, Jakub Brzezinski. here without his Polish compatriot Nikodem Wawlewski this weekend, by the way. You may have not seen him yesterday. He was, at the time of the deadline, when you had to submit your drivers, was still struggling with his shoulder that you may remember was causing him problems in Munich. I think it's actually fine now, and he would have been fine, but they weren't to know that when the deadline was struck.
Yeah, and for Brzezinski, we should point out as well that yesterday, he got involved in a fight in the final race that ultimately didn't really matter whether he was going to make it into the top 12 or not. That was the fight that cost Thibaut Casabon the opportunity to be in the shootout. And we know from Brzezinski that even if the Mercedes struggles a bit with the front tires, both Baldwin and Brzezinski are going to be able at certain tracks today to make the most of it.
Yeah, not Thibaut Casabon's best friend anymore, I wouldn't imagine, after yesterday. Side by side for 6th place, by the way. James Baldwin on the inside with champion Marcel Chinchik on the outside. Baldwin's done a good job of defending there, just squeezing Marcel through the second part to hold on to 6th place.
Yeah, and we saw James being so impressive in the Spring Major earlier this year, and even if the Mercedes has dropped a little bit in terms of the balance of performance of the other cars, maybe the Porsche, the BMW fighting back a little bit more, we can expect him to make these sort of moves to bring that car on forward with his own raw ability and sheer might of will.
He is a fantastic driver, so calm, Marcel Chinchik as well, by the way. Walked through, he was the last driver still in the canteen eating food, and he was the calmest. He was about half an hour before the show started. He was the calmest driver you've ever seen.
He had to get told to go to bed yesterday by his team manager, Mehdi Alfouti. That was quite funny. We were sitting after all of the action yesterday, and I think it was 1:32 in the morning, and Mehdi says, "Marcel, time to go to bed."
I don't blame him, yeah. He does love a game of everything, doesn't he? Yuri Kasdorp then, I'm afraid, receiving our first track limits penalty of the day. That's 10 seconds, and that's, well, he's last anyway, but he's even more last now.
That's something as well the drivers were kind of talking about coming into this event, is the fact that from the spring season where they were allowed the 6 off tracks over the course of the race, now that's been reduced to 4, and that in this sort of short racing where you're always looking to make moves can very much leave you in risk of that 10-second penalty. Yuri Kasdorp, the first of surely many today, as we come on to the start of the final lap of the first race of finals day.
Out of the final corner to go on to that last lap, and Josh Rogers is looking quite comfortable now. 0.8 of a second. We thought that Jeffrey Uval might be able to use the slipstream. Maybe the Dutch driver thought he was going to be able to as well, but that's not been the case.
I think I'm quite looking towards the likes of Kevin Ellis Jr., maybe Marcel Chinchik in sort of the 3/4 bracket to try and close the gap up, but realistically, I don't necessarily think inside of the top 5, where the drivers are scoring the most valuable points to get to finalist mode, we should expect any changes.
Up the Kemmel straight for Josh Rogers. Looks in his rearview mirror. You can see him just looking up to the top of his screen to see absolutely nobody anywhere near him. Nearly a second now as he runs up towards Lecombe. Further behind is Marcel Chinchik, who's probably close enough to make a move. He's on the outside again. Baldwin defended well last time. Will the Hungarian be a little bit more forceful this time? Not particularly. It's almost like watching a replay, and Baldwin has held on again.
Deja vu, that's for sure, but now up and under potentially from Chinchik. Baldwin tries to cover, but a little bit too late to be able to do so. It's going to be the Audi that forces Baldwin out wide, but not completely alongside. Baldwin's going to fight this one back. Longer trip around the corner, but then aggressively slammed the door shut.
He went for the undercut, he went for the crisscross there, and Chinchik was not quite able to do it. Baldwin's going to squeeze him all the way to the left-hand side, and Chinchik just backs off.
Nice and tidy for these two drivers, knowing that, again, race control, you don't want them to get involved at the very start of what could be a long old day where race control hopefully will not determine the championship.
And who would have thought that 2 of the favourites fighting for sixth place? It's only 8 points.
Well, that's the strength of field that we've got, you, and that's why we don't think it's going to take 4 races for someone to get to finalist mode when we go racing at the Nürburgring next. Will it be Rogers on top, or will it be Baldwin and Chinchik fighting?
Or someone else, indeed, in the fray. That's going to be interesting to find out when we get there. Because 8 points, only 10% of the way there. You need to get to 80 points to get into finalist mode, which may allow you to win this championship. Into the final couple of corners, though, comes Josh Rogers. Wasn't able to get the pole position as he did on a couple of occasions yesterday, but he is able to win his 3rd race in 3 here at ESL R1, sponsored by Aramco here at Gamers8. Rogers out of the final corner, and by nearly a second, wins at Spa. He's got his day off to the best possible start.
Exactly what Porsche Coanda would have wanted. But yes, Dane Warren slid back a little bit, but ultimately, Rogers, the man that yesterday showed exactly why he is maybe one of the strongest in the competition, dominating and controlling a group that we thought might be the toughest, grabs the first victory and 25 valuable points on the journey to 80.
He made the toughest group yesterday look like one of the easiest with the way that he won those 2 races. There he is. Doesn't even look particularly pleased with himself, but he will be on the inside. He knows that there's still a very, very long way to go here today. Still 55 points away from finalist mode. A look over from Dane Warren, who's had a decent race there as well. 2 Porsche Commander cars inside the top 5.
And you'll note for the teammates that are in the competition, they are sat next to each other out there on the stage. So it is going to be somewhat beneficial, not just because of the fact that you can talk to your teammate, the team manager is sitting above them and ready to talk to them as well.
Absolutely. It's very well symmetrically coordinated, which has made me very happy, I've got to say. The fact that the teammates are sat together. This is how he did it, though. First of all, it was Jeffrey Rietveld making the moves. This bit of contact with Dane Warren was a bit dramatic.
Rubbing's racing. All's fair in this sort of 15-minute battles, and so Dane Warren, I think, maybe will be a bit more aggrieved about that second shove from his teammate, but ultimately, Benecca's so close behind, you couldn't really afford to wait, and Rogers got second and eventually took the draft and slid past the BMW.
So that was how Rogers get ahead of his teammate into second place, which allowed him to make this move on Jeffrey Rietveld. Let's have a chat to him now.
Mr. Rogers, first race done, first victory on the board. Got to be a good feeling.
Yeah, obviously qualifying didn't necessarily go exactly how I wanted. Started P3, yeah, put me in, I guess, a good position to at least try and kind of manage what was going on in front of me. But yeah, got past Dane, unfortunate with what happened there, and then, yeah, got through on Jeffrey at the end of the straight. And from there, I was trying to just focus on hitting my marks. I went way too deep in the last chicane 1 lap, so I completely threw away that margin, risking a bit, but I think Jeffrey got an off track in Eau Rouge, so that took the pressure off a little bit. From there, I could just, yeah, push on and hit my marks and, yeah, bring it home.
بالضبط. جاش راجرز قدر يحقق الانتصار الاول، حقق نقاط برضو مره ممتازه. فشعوره اللي سالناه فيه قبل شوي قال انه صحيح انه شعور جدا ممتاز، ويعني حاول انه يصنع او ما يبعد المسافه كثيره عن اللي قدامه على اساس يقدر يستغلها لصالحه. في نفس الوقت انه في كل مره يحاول حتى برضو ياخذ النقاط بشكل مره ممتاز في كل الجولات حتى برضو، وقدر يحقق النصر. فهذا اهم شيء بالنسبه له. الحين الجولات الجايه بتصير اسهل واقل ضغط عليه.
Now, seeing everything backstage, seeing everything on the screen, it kind of appeared to us that not everyone is being too aggressive off the start. Everyone's kind of, you know, playing their game, playing it slow a little bit, but you saw your opening and you went for it and obviously capitalized on that, which is amazing. But do you feel like as the day progresses, people are going to get more and more aggressive and start taking more chances?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as the day gets further on, people are going to start getting closer and closer to getting finalist mode, and that's when, yeah, you know, everyone's going to start probably risking a little bit more because the door's closing essentially, right? So, yeah, I think the first race is probably going to be the tamest of all of them. But nevertheless, though, it was still exciting. But yeah, for sure, the races coming up are going to be a lot more stressful as a driver.
السباقات اللي راح يتسابقون فيها بعد شوي، اللي معنا سالنا فيها المتسابق معنا جاش راجرز، اللي سالنا كيف راح تكون معك السباقات الجايه. قال انه صحيح ان السباق الاول يمكن هو الاقل ضغط، لكن سباق ورا سباق راح يتقفل الفرص، راح تقل الفرص للمتسابقين انهم يحققون النصر. فكل مره وكل سباق راح يكون اكثر واصعب من السباق اللي قبله. فبالنسبه له يقول انه جدا سعيد انه حقق النصر في البدايه، حبه راح تسهل عليه المشوار في باقي السباقات.
Expect the spice levels to increase. I like that. The temperature gauge is going to slowly be turned. That's exactly what we want to see. And for the guys at home as well. Josh, thank you so much for joining us in your post-race interview. Best of luck in the rest of your races today. And with that, we're going to go back over to the desk so we can continue our Drivers' Championship finals.
والحين اعزائنا المشاهدين، بعد ما اخذنا المقابله مع الفائز في السباق الاول اللي هو جاش راجرز، لكن الحين خلونا ننتقل مره ثانيه على الاستديو نشوف تفاصيل السباق كيف كان، ونرجع لكم في السباق اللي بعده.